So I'm not entirely sure where this one goes, because it's game related, but it's also political, and it's also social commentary. So I'm just gonna put it on both the channels, alright? And so people who watch me know, I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. I hate game journalists. I cannot stand these people. As far as the more benign side of journalism goes, they're not just bottom of the barrel, they're like under the barrel in the dirt. So we're gonna take a look at this, because this has almost all the examples of why I don't like them professionally. Personally, I have so many stories, but that's a whole nother thing. So look at this. Call of Duty trailer recklessly promotes far-right conspiracy theory. I like how the Overton window has shifted so far now. It's basically socialist, far-right. Pretty sure there's a lot of steps in between there, but this is where we are now. Everything they don't like, the game journalists don't like, is clearly far-right. And if you go back to my last video on the gaming channel, depending on which one you're watching this on, or the video before, I don't remember which, I said game journalists constantly will make articles complaining about how politics are not shown in games, such as The Division. I think the last one I covered was Far Cry. But I said what that really means is games should display our politics. They should push our agenda in politics, because if it's not America bad, Orange Man bad, etc., they're gonna freak out and go, how dare you put politics in? And I said it, and then this comes out later, and I called it. They're so predictable. Alright, so let's see if Mr. Walker can convince us that this is a far-right conspiracy. Alright, so I got some clips. We're gonna do some explaining, and let's see if he convinces us this is a far-right conspiracy, or this is a bunch of quotes and clips and all this stuff taken out of context to push a narrative. Now I'm going to hand you your study guide that will let you know the answer to that question is number 2. Okay. Alright, Mr. Walker, convince me this is far right. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's debut trailer, which already attracted controversy, only among your bubble, gives a lot of airtime to Soviet defector Yuri Bezmov and his views which have in recent years become a dangerous rallying cry for the far-right conspiracy theorists and the people who peddle them. I've been really sick of this whole, like, let's discredit something someone says by just calling them a conspiracy theorist. But it only goes one way. He was literally talking about things that happened and parallels that are dead accurate now. And we'll go through and I'll show you some, and I will leave the entire interview, because it's like an hour, 20 minutes, so you can make sure I'm not taking anything out of context. Alright, so let's go. The teaser, which was released last week to hype up the most recent reveal, intersperses stock footage of major world events with a 1984, how appropriate, interview of Bezmov, who claimed to have been an informant for the KGB before defecting to the United States. What do you mean claimed? You just said he was earlier. I mean, you can look this up and verify it. It was. He proved it. During the interview, he describes how the Soviet Union alleged use of active measures that in theory are meant to destabilize opponent without direct military conflict by way of changing a society's power structure and economy. Well, yeah, they did these things because I'm a bit of a war buff. There's no country on Earth in a physical conflict that could take America. We could stomp any military. With the exception of China, no other country can even afford a war with us. And this is why China doesn't want direct conflict with us right now. They're getting mad, but they ain't gonna do it, because they get stomped in a ground war. So you have to attack things subtly, like culture and economy. Anyway, let's keep going. In short, Bezmov's suggestion in the full interview is that extending equality to the United States non-white, non-male population made it ripe to Soviet invasion. This is not what he said. Now, I'm going to explain what he meant, but I got to show you. He perfectly explains what kind of person this is.
Simply because, you see, the useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemies. That's why my KGB instructors specifically made the point, never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher. This was my instruction. Try to get into large circulation, established conservative media. Reach, filthy rich movie makers, intellectuals, so-called academic circles. Cynical, egocentric people who can look into your eyes with angelic expression and tell you a lie. These are the most recruitable people, people who lack moral principles, who are either too greedy or too suffer from self-importance. They feel that they matter a lot.
And this is basically the problem with the journalists. if you talk to people who've left these companies, it mostly is a sense of, I'm better than you, I am more important, and they're greedy and want paychecks. And they don't care. They'll say whatever. Many are sympathetic to people like the rioters. But that's what I mean. Now let me go on to what he says about extending equality. What he actually said, and you can see it right now, is they push these ideas into groups like social justice movements, because he didn't say later in the interview, which obviously he doesn't quote, he does say, if you were to be taken over by the communists, by the socialists, he said, the rights and freedoms you love as Americans will go away, such as the freedom to be gay.
If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds.
But that's not what he's saying. He's saying they hide in these groups and exploit that purpose because it's easy. How many social justice groups are there that do not advocate for these things while saying they advocate for these things? We are rioting for social justice and change to help the black community while they burn down black businesses. When I go to the social justice circles to ask questions and I get called the hard R, I've talked to literal people in the Klan and even they wouldn't call me the hard R to my face. These groups were infiltrated by revolutionary communists and are filling their head with nonsense. So I can't tell if this person is deliberately trying to lie to you or he's just too stupid to understand context. So moving on. The official Call of Duty trailer refers to Bezmov's claims as a chilling warning and implores viewers to know your history, which sure feels like a tactic endorsement of the man's deeply flawed ideology. He didn't name the flaws, but okay. And why does the word know your history? Why does that bother you? As we'll later show, a lot of the things he say are coming true right now. So I think that was a good warning. But I don't know why know your history bothers you.
In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black and most of it is black, is done by Americans to the basics, thanks to lack of moral logic of behavior, as I mentioned before. In other words, these people, exposure to true information does not demoralization is complete and irreversible. A person who was demoralized.
So we move on, and here's how another way they try to smear or dismiss people, which is a guilt by association tactic.
Even if I
the person interviewing Bezmov in the footage is a far-right conspiracy theorist, G. Edward Griffin, who has since made a name for himself in the HIV/AIDS denialism and the alt-right recruitment.
He will refuse to believe it.
Wasn't a thing at that time, but okay. As a member of the John Birch Society, a famously anti-communist organization focused on establishing a more conservative government in the United States. Why do you say that like that's a bad thing? What I mean is, why would you say anti-communism is a bad thing? Communism is a bad thing. But this is another thing he touches on. You can show him pictures of all the bad things communists and communism has brought upon the world. And they'll go, nah, fake news, didn't happen.
Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it.
So, as we continue, it makes sense that Griffin would peddle Bezmov's claims about Soviet interference by way of social progress without any critical analysis. In the Call of Duty trailer, Activision prevents Bezmov's words bereft of this important context. You should not be talking shit, because as we're going to see in a little bit, we already saw a little bit, but as we go on, we're going to see he cuts context out of so many things here to smear people. And if they did a Google search to just know basic information on the people they're looking at, J. Edward Griffin had conspiracies in every direction. And this is part of the guilt by association they do. For example, if I'm on my social channel, if a BLM extremist would allow me to interview them, I would do it. I would want to know what they have to think. Does that make me one of them? Or does it make the BLM extremists all of a sudden not extreme because they talk to someone who isn't? Because look, he believed a lot of crazy things, but he believed in things that the left also believed in. Look, he's talked about communist and capitalist conspiracies over banking systems, like with the Federal Reserve System. Aren't you guys always complaining about capitalists and capitalist conspiracies? Okay. Also, U.S. foreign policy and the U.S. military-industrial complex. This is something that's blown my mind recently of how pro-war people have gotten because Orange Man is anti-war. I thought it was always the left calling out the military-industrial complex. I don't think he was necessarily trying to smear J. Edward Griffin. I think he just looked at a headline result about him and went, okay, far-right conspiracy theorist. Didn't take 5 seconds to read because many journalists, I'm sure if you follow these things, they don't use Google. They hear a thing and type a thing. Alright, moving on. As the name suggests, Black Ops Cold War deals with the decade-long struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union, which engaged in various forms of political proxy warfare as the globe's prevailing superpowers after World War II. Well, at least you admit there was a lot of proxy war. While Bezmov's warning seemed like obvious fodder for amping up conflict in the game, his appearance in the game's advertisement has functioned as a sort of dog whistle to legions of reactionaries who consider attempts at establishing social equity as proof of far-right conspiracy theory known as cultural Marxism. Oh, jeez. You always notice how, like, everything is a dog whistle to the far right if they don't like it? And I'm sure you've heard the phrase, if everywhere you go you hear dog whistles, you're the dog. And we'll jump down a little bit, seeing how. It says this is dangers to so-called traditional values. In this way, diversity and societal growth away from prejudice were treated as divisive and insidious, clearing a path for a country's eventual acceptance of Nazism. Now, I think part of this is right, just replace Nazi with, radical communism, identitarian communism, and then there you go. Because he's saying, well, they just want to promote diversity and societal change. No, you can see them going to the black neighborhoods and burning down the black neighborhoods in the name of racial justice. And no, don't give me that shit of peaceful protest. 2 of them were right by me. I was literally a 2-minute drive from one and a 5-minute drive from the other, right in between, and I saw it myself. Here we go. The falsehood of cultural Marxism has been used ever since to embolden a growing white nationalist movement in blaming society's ills on the fictitious boogeyman of marginalized populations rather than the people in power who actually exploit the world and its most vulnerable inhabitants. And this is how you can tell these people never talk to anyone outside their bubble. Because they have these arguments that are straw men that nobody except crazy people make. Liberals, moderates, conservatives, libertarians, they all share these videos because they have more than 2 brain cells to look at what you're saying and analyze what he's saying. But instead, again, he goes down, rather than blaming the people in power who actually exploit the world and its most vulnerable inhabitants. Now, interestingly, Yuri does bring that up, and he's actually somewhat agrees with him.
If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon.
So see, he wasn't even in total disagreement on that one. And again, perfect parallel to our businesses and our government selling us out to China in evil dictatorship that is on a genocide right now. Where places like Hong Kong are literally begging for us to save them. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead 1 paragraph because he goes over some books, Hate Crimes Volume 1, I'm not familiar with these people, and I'm not going to speak on something if I'm not familiar with them. I'll jump ahead one paragraph. The term, cultural Marxism, more recently gained popularity in gaming circles. What else? Gamergate. No, this is not true at all, but okay. I don't know what the game journalist's obsession with Gamergate. The specter of cultural Marxism is routinely conjured to decry anything that doesn't adhere to straight, white, cis male perspective that has dominated the video game industry for decades. Can we just stop? Gamergate's dead. It's gone. And this is just not true. I wasn't in Gamergate because I didn't care at the time because I was too busy with other things. But I knew people in it. Nobody was saying this. But these people don't talk to anyone outside their bubbles. So they have these straw man misrepresentations of people in a movement. This is why you see these journalists on Twitter, and you'll go to look at their Twitter and you'll find out you've been blocked and you've never talked to them. Anyway, he continues. Such as the introduction of playable characters in Battlefield 5 and the LGBTQHYZ1, the Batman symbol, representation in The Last of Us Part 2. This is what I mean by he doesn't talk to people. Those were not the reasons people were annoyed. It was not because LGBTQ Biggie Man. Alright? I didn't get to play The Last of Us 2. It did look really fun. I just watched through the story because I thought it was interesting. The bitch is not a likable character. It's annoying, and I don't like these people. They're so dumb. They're no different than the far-right people, the actual alt-right people, the white nationalist people. They're both just as stupid as each other, and they don't realize it. They'll look at something like disparities. They'll look at something like someone being disliked for a reason, and they'll just jump to the most surface-level thing without asking why. They'll go, race, gender, sexuality, because it's easy. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to do that. I mean, seeing Besma promoted by Call of Duty in such an uncritical way feels like have a winking acknowledgement to those bullshit complaints. Like how he says, in such an uncritical way. This is another way of saying, it's not my politics, so it's bad. It's not debunking him as big, bad, and evil, so it's bad. What, do you want a 10-hour long ad? You haven't even played the fucking game yet. Want a 10-hour ad going through his whole freaking interview and breaking it down from some radical, retarded intersexual perspective? And you go, acknowledgement of bullshit complaints. He didn't even lay out what Yuri said anywhere. And he doesn't link to the interview. And here's a life lesson I want to teach some people if they're younger. Never trust anybody who tells you not to seek out information. It doesn't matter what information you're seeking for. If they tell you not to look for it, and they tell you to trust them and what they're saying, they're lying and manipulating you. There's no other reason to tell somebody not to seek out knowledge. Look at this. While never invoking cultural Marxism by name, Besma's warning ran parallel to his core tenets. There we go. So he didn't even say it. You're just going, earlier you said that's what he's saying, and now you're saying, well, he never said it. He just implied it very heavily. So here we go. In various lectures and interviews, Besma said any attempt to establish social equity for women, black folks, or the LGBT+ community in the United States was merely a ploy for the Soviet Union to weaken America within. No. Here's something the left might not want to hear, because they're always screeching diversity is a strength. Diversity comes with severe weaknesses too, because it is very easy to pit people against each other on the basis of race. It's a really easy thing to do, because there'll always be stupid people you can trick into thinking that way. It's similar to how authoritarianism has major advantages over libertarian societies. Even though authoritarian societies are bad and evil, if there's some kind of common enemy coming at us, in a libertarian society you have to say everyone let's unite against this enemy, and half the group can go fuck you, I don't like you. In authoritarian society they're going, we're gonna unite against this common enemy. And they go, and if you don't, we'll shoot you. And that's not me saying diversity bad. That's me pointing out that it is a weakness of diversity. So here we go. So again, what he means critically is it's all set up. These groups, again, I will bring up the groups again. They yell Black Lives Matter, and if I disagree with them, I'll get some white progressive hitting me with the hard R. You'll get the Antifa screaming racial justice. And look up Portland ICE Antifa racial slurs, and you'll see what I mean. Look up Antifa yells racial slurs at black man. Okay, continue. He frequently criticizes leftists, feminists, and those involved in equal rights and anti-war movements as useful idiots, as you are showing to be one of them. Anyway. Or pawns whose demands were an opening for the Soviet Union to destabilize the United States. Well, no, now I think it's a way for China to do that. Here's my quick conspiracy theory. The Soviet Union was doing this. You had all the pro-Soviet Union socialists in the US promoting it, saying, see, it works, it works, it works. 1991, Christmas, the Soviet Union falls. All of the people now, their baby's gone, so they all scatter. And like cockroaches, they turn up hidden in other movements. China sees what's happening. China saw this happening. They're coming to rise as the next superpower, and they go, we can salvage this. And now I think China has taken over the mantle, as we've been seeing college campuses people getting arrested for selling off information to China. We have places like CNN literally posting one article that was literally almost a word-for-word copy from Chinese propaganda from the Chinese Navy, and YouTube banning Chinese bot accounts that were promoting social justice. So it goes on. The term was used in the very same interview, which Activision pulled footage from Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War, but the trailer glosses over that part of the discussion. Okay, I'll leave the interview. I want all of you to go watch it, and I want you to look at it critically and tell me, is what he's saying is equal rights is clearly a communist ploy? Or is he referring to idiot leftists like this who screech equality while burning down black businesses, while destroying black neighborhoods? Please, because I'm not gonna hide the video from you like this little weasel does. Please go look at it and come to your own conclusion. Oh, and here we go. Here's where we get to the part where, oh, he lies a lot. Takes so much out of context, and as one mad lad would put it, as we're about to see, show that he's a dirty, dirty smear merchant. So, while everyone has been happy to share the Black Ops Cold War video, far and wide, purely as a piece of marketing, the implications of Bezmov's appearance haven't been lost on far-right figures like Carl Sargon of Akkad Benjamin. Dude, he's a moderate. I've watched a good amount of him. I have no clue where these people get far-right from. Anyway, a popular anti-feminist YouTuber who during his failed attempt at getting elected to Parliament in the European Union, don't you love that little catty dig? Like that had nothing to do with anything. And if you want context, he knew he wasn't gonna win. He even said that himself. Anyway, joked about raping a British politician. I'm sick of this one. Oh my god. And this is funny, this is the exact tweet that made him call them dirty smear merchants. He said, I would not rape you. I wouldn't even rape you. That was the point of the joke. It was to say he wouldn't do something, so he'd show them they'll get triggered and angry, and you go, well, so you want me to do it? That was a joke. Was it the best joke for attention, to get her attention? No, but it was effective at what he did. Alright, so he goes, in an August 20th video entitled, The New Call of Duty Game Mainstreams Yuri Bezmenov, and I'm going to show you a little bit of it in a second, Benjamin is absolutely giddy about the prospect of the impressionable viewers being taken over by Bezmenov's cultural Marxism adjacent ideology, but you said it was earlier. Now it's adjacent. And then he didn't even say it, by the way. So, here we go. This is the overall plan that Yuri Bezmenov gives us for ideological subversion, Benjamin says while ranting about anti-police brutality demonstrations and worker unions. That isn't in the video! He's talking about what Yuri was talking about. You didn't watch this video, did you? I'm gonna leave it down there too. I want you to go watch it. It's 22 minutes. Anti-police brutality demonstrations. Motherfucker, do you want to come down here? Come down here, look me in the eye and say anti-police demonstrations when I can go 2 minutes from here and look at ruins. But they won't do that because they're fucking frauds. They won't look the business owners in the eyes and say, it's just a demonstration. It's just a protest. I'm sorry, but this just fucking irritates me. Anyway, look at this. Here he goes, where I'm going to show you a clip where he flat out lies about what Sargon says. Watch this. So, he says, really, there is no such thing as equality, as Yuri points out in his lectures. Equality is, and then he cuts out a big portion right there, a ridiculous goal. Now, what was the part that he cut out that Sargon said? Well, we're going to look at it to see if it adds important context or not.
And this is the overall plan that Yuri Bezmenov gives us for ideological subversion. Once you have a society like this, and all of these things being done in the pursuit of equality, which is a communist idea, there's nothing in the Bible about equality, there's nothing in the US Constitution about equality, these things are focused on moral order and freedom. These are not focused on equality, because really there is no such thing as equality, again, as Yuri points out in his lectures, and as anyone who spends any amount of time thinking about this knows, there is no such thing as equality. Equality is a phantom. It's a false promise. It's a ghost. We're all different. We can never be the same. The force required to make us the same is just unreal. It's just not possible. It's a ridiculous goal, but we can all be free, and we can all be happy.
Ooh, nice try, you slimy game journalists. It looks like that part you left out kind of changed the context a lot, where he explains why perfect equality is a ridiculous goal, but you left that out, so you make him look like the big bad evil bigot. And the problem is, there's a lot of people who are going to read this and go, oh yeah, oh wow, oh he really said that, wow. Well, I want people to see this. You fraud. So later on in the video, he says near the end, and he quotes him here, "We actually have to thank the makers of Call of Duty for popularizing Yuri Bezmenov to the normies." Benjamin adds later, "This is wonderful. It's important to have people listen to the things he's saying."
So really, we actually have to thank the makers of Call of Duty for popularizing Yuri Bezmenov to the normies. I think this is wonderful. I think it is important to have people listen to the things that he's saying, explain how, look, it's the changing of definitions of words that allows this to begin and grow from it. And we can see that the left-wing activists at the moment, their entire movements, are about the redefinition and manipulation of language.
You see what I mean by these people? You see why I freaking hate these people? You see why dirty, dirty smear merchants is such an accurate phrase? He'll leave links to the controversial things Carl has done, but he won't leave links to his actual video so you can go see what it actually says. I mean, later on he even says, "It's not clear what role, if any, Bezmenov plays in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. The ideology he espouses in the trailer might actually serve as the game's antagonistic force." Then what are you complaining about? You don't even know and you're outraged. Whatever the case may be, whatever the case may be, it's irresponsible for the developers to disseminate his ideas without context. Oh, look who's talking! Is this nigga for real? You see how fake these motherfuckers are? Okay, hang on. Alright, let's keep going. Especially by way of a game that is already popular among impressionable adolescents and disaffected men with far-right tendencies. What does that even mean? What does far-right tendencies mean? And he goes into the terrorists from Norway, and I don't get the point he's trying to make here is somehow he's making some kind of jump to, you'll see Yuri Bezmenov and then you'll shoot up a bunch of people. You know what the problem is? You know why they don't want his ideas exposed to people who he considers impressionable? These young people, these identitarian communist types, these social justice types, and the far right, the actual alt-right, they do this too. They lack critical thinking ability, and they're seeing things through their own eyes. This is why they don't see charity as a practical thing that will work. They always go, well, you gotta force people to pay charity or pay taxes for charity, or no one will give charity, because they don't, and they can't imagine people who do. Same idea. They'll go to these college campuses. You'll go to the college, right? They'll listen to the professors espouse them these insane ideas, and they just look and go, oh, yeah, is that right? Oh, okay. They'll read a headline and go, oh, that's true, isn't it? Oh, wow. And so they see other people like that. So I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit, because he goes over past controversies in Call of Duty, where, of course, he shows they had other controversial opinions that could lead to mass shootings or something that didn't. But this time, for real, it will happen, guys. Trust me. Yeah, I love this part here. Black Ops Cold War and its promotion of cultural Marxism farce is just the latest in a string of decisions that are questionable at best and actively dangerous at worst. This is what I mean. They can hear one guy say something and they'll go, oh, okay, oh, yeah. If you look at the protest, there was that guy Sorry, riot. If you look at the riot, there was that guy outside of the gas station, and one Antifa guy points at him and goes Nazi, and they all just turn and attack with no context. They all just turn and start running at him and yelling at him. That's why they think things like this are dangerous. They think they'll listen to Yuri and then all of a sudden become a far-right extremists. You are no different than those stupid 90s Republicans that say doom will start school shootings. And then he goes on to just make a false representation of all of Yuri's arguments, where he says there's no Jewish plot to destabilize America, blah, 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 the cultural Marxism argument, which then he said Yuri didn't even bring up or say. So why is he bringing this up? And here's where I bring up again what I said. Listen, Activision have given its fans a direct path to his philosophy while also leaving out crucial contextual details that explain its origins and its dangerous effects it already has on the modern world. There we go. They've given a direct path to his philosophy. Yeah, so let people see it and decide for themselves. Why are you trying to stop people from... I swear to God, I fucking hate these journalists. This is why I think they're bad people. They're bad, manipulative people. I will say it again. Never trust anybody who tells you to not sneak out information. This guy needs to know people aren't as brain dead as he is, and they can hear an idea, listen to it, and decide for themselves whether or not it's true. That's about the end of this, but I don't know. Where do we go from here? We just got some folks out there that are just a crew of idiots here and there. I don't know how to end videos.
So basic, two very simple, maybe two simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless, they are the only solutions. Educate yourself, understand what's going on around you. You are not living at the time of peace. You are in a state of war.